Hey, we're going to start our Christmas series today. I'm so excited about it because Christmas is my favorite season of all time. It's so fun to talk about Jesus and how he was born and all of the reasons behind it and the wise men and the shepherds and the angels and just all of the miraculous stuff that happened. So we're going to start right now by reading Matthew 2, just a couple of verses. So this starts with, Jesus was born in Bethlehem near Jerusalem during the reign of King Herod. After Jesus' birth, a group of spiritual priests from the east came to Jerusalem and inquired of the people, that means asked the people, "Where is the child who was born the king of the Jewish people? We observed his star rising in the east, and we've come to bow before him in worship." That's a pretty big deal. These people had traveled super far. So let's talk for a second about these guys. Some people call them wise men, some people call them magi, some people call them kings, the three kings. So let's talk a little bit about those guys. This version says spiritual priests from the east, which is actually pretty close. We aren't really sure how many of these guys there were. The only reason we say three is because there was three gifts that they brought. They brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. So since there's three gifts, we just kind of make up three kings. Each one of them has one. It kind of just makes sense. There might have been a lot of them. We just know there was more than one. But these guys were part of something that had been going on for a really long time in Persia. Back in Persia, if you guys remember the story of Daniel and the lion's den, Daniel, was part of this group of wise men. They were people who studied the stars and studied prophecies and told people what was going to happen based off of their study of these things. In case you're not sure what a prophecy is something that someone says is going to happen before it actually happens. The whole Old Testament was written before Jesus was born. So anything that was written about Jesus' birth in the Old Testament was written before Jesus was born. So let's read about some of those things that were written about Jesus' birth before it even happened. They're called prophecies. One of them is, Judah will hold the royal scepter, and his descendants will always rule. Nations will bring him tribute and bow in obedience before him. This one was written in Genesis, and this was somebody who was prophesying that someone who came from the line of Judah would be a king. Jesus came from the line of Judah. My favorite one of these prophecies comes from Isaiah 9, and it says, "For unto us a child is given, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever." If that version was a little harder for you to figure out, I'm going to read it in this one. I really like this one. "A child will be born to us, a son will be given to us. He will rule over us, and he will be called Wonderful Advisor and Mighty God. He will also be called Father who lives forever and Prince who brings peace. The authority of his rule will continue to grow. The peace he brings will never end. He will rule on David's throne and over his kingdom. He will make the kingdom strong and secure. His rule will be based on what is fair and right. It will last forever. The Lord's great love will make sure that happens. He rules over all." So this was written about Jesus by Isaiah the prophet back in the Old Testament before Jesus was born. So these guys traveled really far away. The Bible just says from the east, so we're not exactly sure where they're from. They might have been all the way from India or China, or they might have just been from Persia, which was a little bit closer by. But however far away they were, they didn't get there until Jesus was about 1, maybe even up to 2 years old. He wasn't in a stable anymore by the time they got there. Mary and Joseph were living in a house with Jesus. You might be wondering, were the wise men the only one that had figured this out? So let's see about that. Let's keep reading. Jesus was born in Bethlehem near Jerusalem during the reign of King Herod. So we already read that part. After Jesus' birth, a group of spiritual priests from the east came to Jerusalem and asked the people, "Where is the child who's born king of the Jewish people? We observed his star rising in the sky, and we've come to bow down before him in worship." King Herod was not happy. King Herod was shaken to his core when he heard this, and not only him, but all of Jerusalem was disturbed when they heard this news. So he called a meeting of the Jewish ruling priests and the religious scholars to demanding that they tell him where the promised Messiah was to be born. Messiah, not just a king, but a Messiah, a rescuer of the people of Israel. So this is what they told him. He'll be born in Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, they told him, because the prophecy states, "O you, little Bethlehem, are not insignificant among the clans of Judah, and out of you will emerge the shepherd king of my people Israel." So these guys knew this. They knew that the Messiah was coming out of Bethlehem. They knew where he was supposed to be from. I'm going to skip a little bit in the story because next week we'll figure out what Herod thought about all of this. Not super happy. But anyway, so then those guys left and they were on their way to Bethlehem, and suddenly the same star that they had seen in the east reappeared. Amazed, they watched it as it went ahead of them and stopped directly over the place where the child was. And when they saw the star, they were so ecstatic. They shouted and celebrated with unrestrained joy. And when they came into the house and saw the young child with Mary his mother, they were overcome. Falling to the ground at his feet, they worshipped him. Then they opened their treasure boxes full of gifts and presented him with gold, frankincense, and myrrh. So these guys found Jesus. They followed the star. So these guys figured it out. They took all of the pieces of the prophecies and they put it together. They figured it out. They followed the star and they found Jesus. How do you think they would have felt if after they had done all of this, they had put all these pieces together, they had listened to the prophecies, and they followed the star, and then they knocked on the door. There just wasn't anything there. How do you think they would have felt if they didn't find baby Jesus? Probably pretty disappointed, huh? Well, the cool thing about God is he always keeps his promises. God always keeps his promises. I want you guys right now to think about a time where God has made a promise to you. I want you to think about if that promise has happened already, or if maybe that's a prophecy, something that's promised that hasn't come to pass yet. And after you think of one, turn to somebody next to you and tell them about it. Tell them about the promise that God fulfilled in your life. If it hasn't come to pass yet, pray about it with your friend. If your friend doesn't have a promise that God's given them, pray and see if God will give you a promise that he wants to fulfill in your life, because God always keeps his promises.